Hi, and welcome to Code Tutorials. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the section title block, which is part of our key blocks for Gutenberg plugin. As its name suggests, this block is here to make adding titles easier than ever. The page we're on has some examples showing us how the section title block can be used and styled. You can add whatever text you like, wherever you like, on the page, and customizing is easy, and will take you just a few clicks. Not to forget, this block includes all kinds of style options which will let you adjust the HTML title tag for your titles, set their color, font, alignment, and so much more. And as you've seen from the examples here, this is a really handy block to combine with others from the key blocks collection. Now, before you start to use it, you should get to know how this block works and what options you'll get with it. To do that, we'll go to the back end. I prepared a new page to work in and added some visuals to it. They're there to give you an idea of what a section title with a combination of blocks might look like. So this is actually a single image added using a block with the same name, single image. It's another one from the key blocks collection. But we're not here for that, we're here for the section title block. What I need to do now is add it to the page. I already have a space set aside for it. Now I need to add my block to that space. Blocks can be added by clicking on this blue plus button here. It opens the block selection. Here you'll see all the blocks your site has. That includes everything you get with Gutenberg itself, as well as the key blocks collection, and anything else you may have added. You can easily tell the key blocks apart by their red icons. Now you can browse through this selection to find the block you want, and when you do, simply drag and drop it to add it to the page. However, there is another way to add blocks from within the page, and it involves clicking on this plus icon in my empty column. This opens a pop-up with a view of my recent blocks and a search bar above that. I'm going to start typing the block name to look for it. And there it is. I didn't even have to finish typing. I'll simply click on it to add it to the page. Here we go. This is what the block looks like by default. It has a subtitle, title, and some dummy text. To start customizing it, the first option allows us to set a new title text. Give me a sec to type mine in. Okay. Now my title is a bit longer, so I'm going to add a break to it. And that's done simply by selecting where you want the break to be and pressing the Enter or Return key on your keyboard. And that's it. We can also see that this automatically added the HTML tag for a break in the title field. And for the title, we also have the Disable Title Line Break option. This option works to cancel the line break on smaller screen sizes. So we can see the drop-down menu offers that we don't disable the break or that we disable it for tablet or mobile screens. For my plan design, I'll select tablet, and then those, as well as any smaller screens, will display the title without a break. Okay. Following this, we have the subtitle field. This is where we can replace the dummy subtitle text. That's this on the page. Give me a moment while I type mine in. Alright, there. As for the subtitle, we can set if it will be positioned above the title or below it. If I move it below, this is what it looks like. If you opt for this position, you can make margin and padding adjustments to change the spacing here. However, I plan to keep my subtitle above the title. There. After this, we have the subtitle icon field. We can use it to add an icon next to the subtitle text. I don't plan on doing this, but if you decide to add an icon, please note that it should be in SVG format. Okay, moving down. The next thing we have is the input field for the text. I'm going to erase this so I can add my own content. I'll speed up as I have quite a bit of typing to do. Just 1 second. Okay, here we are. With this, I replaced all the dummy content in the section title block with something different. Our next option is Disable Text Line Break. It's a lot like the option we saw for the title. We can use it to disable text breaks on devices with smaller screens, provided of course that you have any, which I don't. But if you wanted to use text breaks, you'd create them the same way that I did for the title. Pick where you want the break to be and press Enter or Return on your keyboard. You'll also see an HTML tag for a text break appear in the text you entered here. Then you can use this option and select on which devices the breaks will be disabled. As you can see from this note below, the setting you make will be applied to what you selected as well as any smaller devices. Okay, following that, we have the text link underline behavior. Let me show you what this does. I'll need to make a link for my text first. Simply select your anchor text and then click on the link icon here in the floating options. Then you can add your URL, but I'll just set a hash symbol as a placeholder and enter. Now when I click on my anchor text, we can see the link is active. And if I were to return to my link underline behavior option and select, say, underline, then when I hover over the text, I'll get an underline below my anchor text. Okay, let me remove the link. There, and set the option back to none. Okay, this brings us to our last option, the enable button. It's very simple. If I switch it to yes, I'll get a button. This is it. I plan on keeping the button for my section title. Now, after the button, we have the advanced section. It contains only one option, the additional CSS classes. This is where you can create a specific class for this element, and then you can use that class and refer to it when making CSS that would style your section title block. Okay, that's all for our first Options tab. Moving on to the next one. Here we have options that will help us style different aspects of our section title block. The first thing we can set here is our content alignment. It's set to the left by default, but you can move it to the center or the right. I'm going to keep mine on the left. Then we have 4 sub-tabs: General, Title, Subtitle, and Text. General is already open, and we'll start with that one. Here we can see the button margin top. This option serves to add more space here, so we can create a bigger gap between the button and the text. I'll do just that by setting 45 pixels as my button margin top. Next, we have the text underline thickness. This option works if you added an underline for your text. Then you can make it bolder or lighter, whichever you prefer. However, I don't have an underline, so changing this won't do anything for me. And the same goes for the text underline distance option. It serves to adjust the distance between the text and the underline that accompanies it. But again, I don't have an underline. And those are the options in the General sub-tab. Moving on to the next one, Title. Here we have the title color option. It comes with this user-friendly color picker, which makes setting a new color super simple. And any color you set will immediately be visible on the page. I'll reset this as I plan on keeping the default shade. Then we have the title typography. This is a collection of different options that will help you style your title text. Here we have things like the font family, where we can pick from an extensive collection of fonts to replace the default one. Then we have the font size, which I want to change for my title. I'm going to set 70 pixels here. Okay. After that, there's the font weight option, which can make our title light, bold, or anything in between. Then the transform option can change the title text to uppercase, lowercase, or make it capitalized. Following that, the style option can turn the title italic or oblique. Next, the decoration will let us add a line under, over, or through the title text. Finally, there are 2 options for spacing adjustments, the line height and letter spacing. Of these 2, I just want to change the line height. Okay, and those are all the options you get under title typography. The next thing for the title is the option to change its tag. The default setting is H2, which I'm happy to keep for my title. But if you want to change it, you can pick anything from this drop-down. Then after that, we have the title link underline draw option. This is, if you created a link for or in your title, then this option will give your underline an animated effect that will make it look like it's being drawn as you watch it. I'll add a link to my title just to show you the effect. One moment, I'll use a hash symbol again. Okay, and the option is enabled already, so if I hover, the line looks like it's being drawn as we speak. Okay, I'll remove the link. And since I don't plan on having a link in my title, I'll switch this to no to avoid any confusion. Following that, we have the title margin option. We have 4 distinct fields, so we can enter different values for different sides. The current look is mostly working for me, but I do want to separate the title from the subtitle a bit, so I'll add some space here. That's the title top margin, and I'll use 15 pixels for that. And there we go. This looks much nicer now. Okay, That's all we have in the title options. Let's see the subtitle next. Here we have the subtitle color option, which we can use to change the color of the subtitle text, like so. I plan on keeping the default shade, so I'll reset this. Next, we have a set of typography settings for the subtitle. Since all the options here are the same as the ones we've seen under title typography, I'll just change one thing. That's font size 17 pixels, and we can carry on. After the typography settings, we have the subtitle tag option. Just like we had for the title, we can change the HTML tag for the subtitle text. However, I plan on keeping this set to H5. Following that, we have the subtitle margin top option. By changing the value here, we can change the amount of space above the subtitle. That's this here. As the default setting had my subtitle aligned with the visuals on the right, I'll clear this to restore it. Okay. Then we have the subtitle padding. We can use this option to add more space to any side of the subtitle. Let me show you using the left side, as a change there would be quite noticeable. I'll set 40 pixels. And there, we have this 40 pixel wide indent on the subtitle's left side. Okay, after this we have a few options for the icon. If you recall, there was a field allowing us to upload an icon that would stand next to the subtitle. If you opted to do that, now you'll be able to adjust certain things about the look of your icon. For one, you'll be able to adjust the amount of space between subtitle and icon. Then, specifically for the icon, you'll be able to change its color, its size, or its stroke width. The stroke width, of course, will only work if you have an icon with an outline or stroke. Then you'll be able to make that outline lighter or bolder as needed. And alongside those, we have the icon vertical position option. With this, you can move your icon a bit up or down along the vertical axis. In other words, you can set it to be at the subtitle baseline, at the top, in the middle, or at the bottom. It all depends on what kind of design you're working towards. And with that, we've covered all the options for styling the subtitle, and we can move on to those for the text. As with all the other pieces of text content, we have a color option here too. And we can use it to change the color of our descriptive text. Okay, then we have the text typography. It has all the same settings that we've seen before, so that there is no need to spend more time on this. Following that, there's the text margin top option. We can use it to separate the text from the title, like so. We have this whole block of additional space, which I don't plan to keep. Then after that, we have the text padding. It allows us to adjust the space all around the descriptive text. However, I'll only use it to add 11 pixels at the top. As you can see, this created a slightly bigger gap between the text and the title. And that's it for the options to style the section title block. Now, you might be thinking, but what about the button? Well, this button is a bit like a block within a block. The key blocks collection has the button as a block in its own right. And that block has been integrated here. We won't go into much detail on the button's options as that's not the focus of the present video. However, we will take a brief overview so you'll know the basics in case you choose to add a button to your section title. As for the settings themselves, you can access them by clicking on the button. Then the button's options will appear on the right. The first of these options is for setting the button layout. The default one is filled and you can see what it looks like on the left. The other available options are outlined, which looks like this, and textual, which looks like this. I'll go back to using the filled layout. Next, we have the button type option. Its settings include standard, with inner border, and icon boxed. Though this last one would be more distinct had I uploaded an icon to go with my button. Nevertheless, I want to use standard for my button type, so I'll select it again. Then there's the enable button text underline option. By enabling it, we'd create an underline for our button text, and that underline would vanish on hover. I don't plan on using this, so I'll switch the setting back to no. After that, we have the button size option. Other than normal, the button can be small, large, or normal full width. For my design, the button size I want to use is normal. Under that, we have the button text field. Now I'm going to replace mine. Give me a moment to type it in. Okay. Next, we have the button link field where you need to add the URL that will serve as your button target. Given that this is just a tutorial, I'll simply set a hash symbol as that will make the button act linked. And after that, we have the icon field. This is where you can upload an icon that will go with your button text. I'll add one from my media library. Again, if you're adding an icon, it should be in SVG format. Okay, select. And the icon has immediately appeared within the button, though it's too large to go with the text. I'll fix that now using the icon size option. I'll set 5 pixels for it. There, much better. Next, we have the icon color option. With it, we can set a new color for our icon. You can see it changes immediately. I'll reset this as I want my button text and icon to match in color. Following the color, we have the icon stroke width option. It allows us to change the width of an icon's outline. However, my icon is a simple shape with no outline, so this option won't change anything for me. But the option after this is fun. The icon hover move allows us to pick what kind of animation effect, if any, our icon will display when the button is hovered over. By default, it's set to horizontal short, and that looks like this. You can replace that with one of the other settings in this dropdown. For example, horizontal looks like this, and vertical looks like this. Then there's diagonal, which looks like this, and finally none, which produces no changes on hover. Okay, I'll go back to using the horizontal short setting. After that, we have the icon position option. With it, we can move the icon from the right side of the text to its left side. Given my icon shape, keeping it on the right will look better. There. And then we have the icon margin option. I'm only going to make small changes to the space around my icon. And those are 1 pixel at the top to align it better with the text, and 10 pixels on the left to create some distance from the text. That's it. Under this, we have the advanced section with its additional CSS classes option, but we've already seen that in the section title blocks options, so let's keep going. The next thing we have is a tab with options that allow us to style our button. In here, we have the button text typography. It's the same collection of typography options that we've seen in other instances while styling the section title. I don't plan to change anything here, so I'll close this. Then the following options are split into those for the button when viewed normally or when it's hovered over. Let's go over the options under normal first. To start with, we can change the button text color. And whatever new color you set will affect both the button text and the icon. For this, I want to use a plain white color, so I'll type in the hex code to get it. There. Don't worry, our next option is background color, which I can use to change the color of the button itself. And for that, I'll set a nice attention-grabbing tangerine shade. After that, we have the border color option. Provided you want to add a border or that you've used the outline button layout, then you can change the border color here. Then adjust the border width here. There's also the border radius option. This one, despite its name, affects the button even if it doesn't have a border. In fact, if you examine the button's corners, you'll see that they are slightly blunted. That's thanks to the default radius value. Without it, the button would have a perfectly rectangular shape with sharp corners. And that's the look I want, so I'll set 0 in each of these fields. There we go. After that, we have the padding. It allows us to modify the space around the button text and in doing so affect the button size. For the padding, I'll only make a small adjustment by setting 14 pixels at the top, 40 on the right, 13 at the bottom, and 40 on the left. Okay, now let's look at what options we have for the hover display. There's the text hover color. If we look at the button now, the default text color on hover is white. You can change that with this option, and whatever you set will be immediately visible. However, I like the default colors, so I'll reset this. Okay, next we have the background hover color. With it, we can set something new for the button color, and then the colors would switch when we hover over the button. I'm going to leave this color for now because I want to show you the different ways the switch between the two colors can happen. For that, we'll use the reveal background option. The default setting is none, so there's no particular look or effect when the colors get exchanged. But we can set horizontal, and then the hover color will move in horizontally from left to right. We also have vertical, And with that one, the hover color climbs up vertically. The Reveal Background option can add interesting visual detail to the button, but I'm not planning to use it for my current design, so I'll set it back to none. And I'll clear the changed background hover color. Okay, that's it. Border hover color would allow us to change the color of the button's border on hover. As I'm not using a border, this won't have an effect on my button. And the remaining options we see underneath, border width, border radius, padding, are ones we already covered. So that wraps up all the style options for the button. And as we covered the last of the section title block's options, I completed my page element. I'll just click on Update to save my work. Hopefully, our going together through the options has helped you to get the hang of working with this block. And now that you know what to expect, you can go back to the page we started from and re-examine the examples shown here. Now that you're more familiar with the section title block, adding it to your site will be a quick and easy process. And you can use the design solutions found here as inspiration or a blueprint for what you'll be creating. Ultimately, we hope you'll find this tutorial on the section title block useful for your future building work. If you have any questions after watching this video, or comments or suggestions you'd like to make, please drop us a line in the comment section below. Also, make sure to subscribe to our channel and be the first to learn about any new tutorials and theme guides. Thank you for watching.